So bear with me for a little bit. Some people may not realize why I get so ruffled when it comes to adventuring philosopher. Go back and look at the first replies video where I talk about it. Her behavior has not progressed any, at least progressed towards civility. And some people may take umbrage with me calling her by her direct name. Well, she used my name first without permission, so I feel it's only fair I get to use hers now. But she's not the only problem we have in the social media sphere. There are a lot of people out there right now reporting things or advocating for things that simply are not true. You hear this on both sides of the aisle. The United States has always been a Christian nation. No, it hasn't. In fact, if you're going to go that route about it's always been a Christian nation, you have to define why a lot of the people that came here were kicked out of a Christian nation for being a different type of Christian. That's the problem with that thinking. I saw a blurb today that said, Jews and IPAC are being kicked out of their party. The Democrats don't want them anymore. First of all, if you're a religious Jew, the Democrats were never your party. A very famous book about it called Why Jews Should Not Be Liberals. Go read it. But let's assume for a moment that the premise is so. What are you revealing about the Democratic Party? That it doesn't want to be the host to persecuted minorities? Oh, that's telling. The Democratic Party is quickly becoming a hotbed of what people sometimes quickly call the Green-Red Alliance. This refers to communists on one part and Islamists on the other. It used to be called the Green-Red Alliance because it was communists on one part and eco-Nazis on the other. But if you want something people are really growing tired of, it's the climate change debacle. Don't mistake me. Yes, we have reasons to be concerned about the environment. Yes, we should be practicing more conservation. But we should also be very honest about what practically can be done and will be done. And that's really where I'm coming down in this video, is that you see a lot of people advocate for things that simply are not pragmatic, they're ideological. The person that wants to seize the means of production, right? That's not practical. The people with the money and the resources will leave. Ask Franz. Well, what about the rich paying their fair share? Honey, the rich already pay more taxes than everybody below them combined. You want to increase the load? That's just class envy disguised as politics. See, the older I get, the more I end up having to agree with a bitch I don't want to agree with. I think it's virtue of selfishness where Ayn Rand touches upon the most persecuted person in the United States is actually the business owner. She's kind of right. It may have been for the New Intellectual. I can't quite remember right now, but I think it was Virtue of Selfishness where she talks about that. Us accepting objectivist policies as she penned them would be disastrous. But when I look at what everybody else is offering, I would be less disastrous. And so I find myself, if I'm being honest with myself about what I fear will be our future and what is the most appropriate thing to do, I find myself wishing for a kind of pseudo-anarchism, something along the lines of Nozick's The Watchman State. But I'm also not naive enough to believe I'll ever see it, because it would require people in power voting away their power. That never happens. Not really. So what do we do? That's the question. And that's what social media can be leading us towards. Actual, genuine conversations and plans of action to make ourselves more prosperous and more effective. But instead, you got people like Kelly on the left, people like Fuentes and his ideological group, people like Webb, people like Voight, all advocating for what is essentially despotism, but with a different wrapper. What happened to liberty? What happened to Americans just wanting to be left alone? The threats we have coming up are as follows. The first one right now is Islam. I know people don't want to hear that, but that is the threat. That's closely followed by communists. Then you've got the geopolitical issues that are sizing up because of the disruption of new emerging technologies. And that is always going to be a threat, in quotes, unless your nation is pioneering those technologies. And that's what we should be doing. We should not be running away from AI. We should not be running away from robotics. We should not be running away from nuclear energy. And I'm not saying don't look at recyclables, don't look at renewable energy sources. Please, more energy in the grid is good. More supply is always good. But all the pragmatic conversations that could be had about these issues, not even going into international frictions with foreign countries, all the pragmatic conversations we could be having, we're not. Still picky on Kelly a little bit. Let me give you an example. In a recent video, she lamented that Republicans are supposedly making it harder for everyone to make sure their teenager is not getting knocked up. She actually claimed in one of her videos that Republicans were banning contraception. Well, if you look it up on Google, you'll see there is no state in the American Union that's actually banned over-the-counter contraceptives. There are states that put some restrictions upon it, but no one's banned it. And certain forms of over-the-counter contraception, such as prophylactics and diaphragms, haven't been banned anywhere. And frankly, aren't that hard to get. You want to reduce the teen pregnancy problem? We've already got sexual education in the public school system. You've already got ready access to contraceptives. Why not look at what it really is? It's a cultural issue. Our culture here in the States still has a few hang-ups about sexual interactions. And Kelly's a prime example of how much she hates men. Now, I'm a little biased in this fight, and that my position on some of these things can be considered extreme. If I had my way, for instance, I'd ban abortion, period, with the exception of a mother's life being in danger. I wouldn't ban it for rape or incest or those things, because the child's done nothing wrong. I look at that and say that you are punishing someone for the crime someone else committed. How has that ever been a thing in American law we should allow? But if you want less teen pregnancies, then why aren't we doing some of the things that other nations are doing to curb it that have proven to be effective? And the answer is the culture. American culture is still a little hesitant to do anything with sex that might be viewed as being salacious or illicit. It's not just us. Recently, to help earthquake victims, a Japanese adult film star gave this donation, and people were protesting it was dirty money, and her counter was absolutely brilliant. A donation is a donation. Yeah. What are we focused on? The exact same kind of Christian extremism that Kelly and people of her ilk on the left want to vilify and want to eradicate from American society is the same modus operandi they use. She has a video where she has recently advocated not serving people for their political views. Okay, you can do that, Kelly. There's nothing illegal about that. But I seem to recall that if you do so, that money will go somewhere else. And people will make businesses to cater to that money. So what Kelly's really talking about, and doesn't want to admit, is she wants the state to make this a law. Again, they're all despots at heart. They really are. If I have a problem with somebody at work, we sit down, we hash out how to fix it. We don't vilify one another. That's not the goal. We have a problem right now that our politicians are pitting us against one another with this. I remember when Marianne Williamson said this on stage when she was running for president, everyone mocked her, a dark psychic force. They didn't understand what she was saying. She wasn't using psychic in the term of woo-woo or, the force from Star Wars. She was using that term in its original context of the human spirit, the human culture. And there is a darkness in American society that we've had ever since our inception that wants to vilify something, wants to make something an enemy, that wants to define itself as being, we are not that. That's also not unique to us, which is why I say Islam's a threat, because that's what Islam does. The House of War and the House of Peace, look it up. So what I'm encouraging you to do is I'm encouraging you to start looking at life as goals. What is your goal? What do you want? Are your actions aligned with actually achieving that goal? Are your actions pragmatic and effective to achieve that goal? Do you have the resources, the time, the motivation, and the opportunity to make that actually happen? Because if not, you're better served doing something else. I long for a United States where we can all just do our thing and not be bothered. But nobody seems to want that. Everybody wants to have the ability to not only tell you how to run your life, but make you run your life according to their whims. And I'm not quite sure what to do about that, honestly. That's an old human drive that we've never successfully gotten rid of. We'll have to see how things shake out. But there's a reason why a lot of us here in the middle are starting to lace our coffee with black pills.